If you're only saving for retirement in your 401k, you're doing it wrong. And worse, it's costing you potentially thousands of dollars in future taxes. That's right. By working with clients preparing for retirement for over a decade, I have discovered that people fall into the same dangerous trap over and over again. That is, they come into my office thinking they're ready for retirement because they've hit the $1 million mark or even more. But the problem is they have it all in their pre-tax 401k or IRA. And so when I show them what their actual take-home income will be in retirement after backing out taxes, they go white as a ghost. They realize then in that moment, they've been building a ticking tax bomb this entire time that they never thought of. They have no idea then how to defuse it. And that's exactly why we're making this video today, is to show you the savings mistakes that you could be running into that waste years of progress while you're building for retirement, and instead how to redirect your efforts towards strategies that actually work and save you significant money in taxes and retirement. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Now listen, saving for retirement, it's great, but doing it blindly without a plan, it's not a good long-term solution. And I get it. Maxing out your 401k, be proud of that. That's a phenomenal accomplishment. And it's the responsible thing to do. You're doing a lot of things right, but blindly following generic financial advice without understanding the bigger picture leads to much bigger problems down the road. So if all or a significant portion of your net worth is locked away in a pre-tax 401k or IRA, you're forgetting about what comes 10, 15, 20 years down the road, which is taxes. It's your required minimum distribution. That's right. So if you've been investing diligently for all these years and putting money into your 401k, then you know you've been getting a tax deduction. So every contribution reduces your adjusted gross income dollar for dollar. This is great. And the growth on your investment all that time, it's been pushed. It's been delayed. And now once you get into your 70s, Uncle Sam says, hey, it's time to pay up. Whether you need the money or not, I need to take that money out, get my tax revenue, because they've been investing alongside you this entire time. So we'll say, for example, we have a client with $2 million and they don't need their money yet. They're 60 years old and it's going to grow at a modest 6% rate over the next 15 years. So by the time they need that money at age 75 and they're hitting the required minimum distribution, based off these tables here, and these update each and every year, you're looking at a required minimum distribution of close to $200,000 a year, regardless if you need that money or not. Say for this client, they have a pension, a Social Security, or worse, if you have your money locked up into these accounts and you're retiring before age 59 and a half, you've significantly limited the options that you have on where you need to take this money out without triggering unnecessary taxes or penalties. And so that's what we're going to dive into later on in this video, is what can we do to alleviate that? How can we reduce our tax bill throughout retirement, and where can we create diversity and flexibility within our retirement distribution strategy? $2 million, if it's all in a pre-tax 401k, it's not really $2 million. You see, we have to look at ordinary income taxes. And the way in which our tax bracket works is when we're looking at ordinary income taxes, it's progressive, meaning each dollar, once you exceed that bracket, is going to be taxed progressively at a higher tax rate. And so that $2 million, we'll say if it's all in a 401k, it's worth closer to $1.5 million when we look at after taxes, our actual net amount. And if we're basing our 4% rule off that $2 million and we have not figured out taxes yet, well, our 4% distribution rate isn't based off that $2 million. No, it's not $80,000. It's closer to $60,000 after taxes. And this is where we need to understand how to factor in taxes, how to have a distribution game plan that doesn't crush us, so that we could figure out how much we could safely and conservatively spend. Now, we've all heard of the investment principle known as diversification. This is this idea of let's not put all our eggs in one basket, where we can now spread our money out across different types of investment. So if one happens to underperform, the other investments can help protect it from major losses. This is smoothing out the ride and investing in just more than one type of fund or stock. Now, I want to go a little layer further when it comes to diversification, introduce the concept known as tax diversification. This is the idea of having more than one type of investment account, because there's three major ones that we're going to focus on that you may or may not know about. We'll start with the one that's most common, which is your 401k or your traditional IRA. Any distribution, that's money that you take out in retirement, it's going to be taxed at ordinary income. And we know, based off of our ordinary income, we could put the chart right up here on the screen for all of us to see, is going to be progressive. we talked about earlier. So each dollar is going to push us progressively into a new tax bracket if we trigger the next bracket. Now, the second account is going to be our Roth IRA. Now, all of our growth, all of our distributions, completely tax-free. We like that one. And our third one that's most commonly forgot about is our brokerage account. And what I like about this one, a couple different things. First is tax flexibility. Any distribution taken out is taxed at capital gains. And many people miss this point, is that if our income is low enough in retirement, that's about 48,000 and change if we're single, but 98, give or take, and change if we're married. I'll have the exact numbers here. It's completely tax-free. Capital gains, tax-free. Anything above that is taxed at 15%. So we start creating flexibility of where we could take our first dollar. Not to mention, with our brokerage account, there's no rules on when we could draw the money out. And as we're saving for retirement, there's no rules on contributions, which means we could put as much money as we want to in that account. So when we're getting ready for retirement, not only do we have to have a plan of where are we going to start saving and thinking about future distributions, all of a sudden with these three different types of accounts, we now can control our tax bracket. We have flexibility. We can manage where we're going to take our first dollar from. And specifically, this is really important, this creates two separate roads, two big opportunities that you get to pick from. We could have what I referred to, and I'll link to the video in our show notes here, our golden window for Roth conversions, because we're now retiring early in a much lower tax bracket. We could figure out, do we want to prepay our taxes at a lower tax bracket for Roth conversions? Or number two, do we prefer to stay in a lower tax bracket, possibly have capital gains taxed at zero, and qualify for healthcare subsidies? That's right, healthcare in retirement before Medicare is based off your adjusted gross income. It's not needs-based, it's based off of your income in that year. So if our income is low enough, we could potentially qualify for subsidies when it comes to our health insurance. And so we have a lot of options and flexibility. We're going to need to have a disciplined plan today in our late 40s, early 50s to make this a reality, right? We're going to need to pivot from saving just into our pre-tax 401k and start putting money in our brokerage account, doing backdoor Roth conversions or super or mega backdoor if our 401k plans allow for it. We need to start this now and have a game plan of where we're going to save our dollar to lower our tax rate in retirement. So we have to have a plan of where we're going to save rather than just blindly putting our money into a 401k and dealing with the tax bomb later on in retirement. Click on the link in the description below and I will send you a personalized Loom video looking at your exact situation and show you how to optimize your retirement plan both today while you're still working and overall in retirement once you're starting to take distributions. All right, if you're still with me here, we're going to go one layer further and talk about asset location. So this occurs once we know where we're going to save and where we're going to take our first dollar out from. So the idea here is once we have a game plan and it's ready to go, we want to start filling up each of our three accounts. That's our Roth IRA, our pre-tax 401k, and our brokerage account with investments that are most appropriate for that particular account based off their tax nature. So assets that grow at a faster rate historically, like individual stocks, equity mutual funds, and ETFs, we could see here, are going to be great in a taxable brokerage account, our long-term growth and stock ETFs, or a Roth IRA. We love that. Now, assets that, just move a little more slowly and they pay out dividends, they're bulkier, a lot of income, and they generate taxes, we're going to want to put that in our IRA or our tax-deferred account. And doing this ensures that we can maximize tax-efficient growth. So we have a couple different layers here. And it starts with understanding where we're going to save, the types of accounts that we're going to utilize based off of where we're going to take our next dollar from in retirement. And lastly, once we set up those accounts, which specific assets are most appropriate for those specific accounts. Now, let's look at an example here and an IRA. So we're going to visit our clients that we're familiar with here. Their names have been changed. Frank and Janet, what's great is they have about $2 million, 2.2 to be exact, and they've done a wonderful job spreading out their investment mix between a Roth, a brokerage account, and then a pre-tax 401k and 403b for Janet. Now, Frank and Janet, they're going to have Social Security income and just their Social Security that they're going to wait till age 67. Now, they're going to retire. We can see here at 60. So we're going to have an income gap to be able to solve for. So we're going to have to figure out where is that first dollar going to come from until the cavalry arrives and Social Security starts to flow in. Now, we know we're trying to solve for $7,000 a month in distributions. and they also have a small mortgage payment left. So let's go ahead and take a look at our plans. And specifically, what I want to compare is the difference between having those three types of accounts versus having all of your money in an IRA. And what we can see here is a significant difference, not just in the Monte Carlo analysis, which tells us the probability of success that we're going to have, because with this example side by side, I know off the bat, in the first case where they have those three different types of accounts, they're going to have tax flexibility. And in this right here, before we even get to reports, I know their taxes, all things being equal, are going to be significantly higher. So when we look at our income tax report, we could see side by side, this is our base case where they're having that flexibility between a Roth IRA, a brokerage at capital gains, and a 401k versus having everything in pre-tax assets. Because what we're seeing here is a couple different things. Their tax rates are 10 to 15, if not $20,000 more early in retirement before Social Security kicks off, because they're having to take out all that money at $84,000, $85,000 a year plus taxes to make those distributions. Whereas they've diligently saved strategically on the other side. Now we could trigger capital gains rates in a much lower tax bracket. And secondly, what we could see here is not only are distributions just tax inefficient on the second screen, but when required minimum distributions kick in, one would think that it's actually going to be larger when we're delaying the required minimum distributions on the first slide by taking from brokerage first. But if they have all of their money saved into a pre-tax 401k and nothing else, well, it's growing and growing and growing. Whereas assets in a Roth or a brokerage account continue to grow while we're pulling strategically, where we have this difference. In fact, one of my favorite white papers here is by Charles Schwab, and it's titled Tax Efficient Withdrawal Strategies. And we get the idea of where do we take our first dollar from in retirement, where we can see, do we take it from a brokerage account in green, or do we layer in a Roth IRA, or do we take it all from a 401k? And so we could see conventional wisdom is going to tell us, well, we could take it from a brokerage first, then an IRA, then a Roth. But when we get really personalized, we could start looking at, well, what if we mix and match to manage up to a specific tax bracket? And this is the strategic planning that we can do to help pay less in taxes in retirement. In fact, we could see the difference between the two. We actually have a dollar value assigned to them. They're saving over $500,000 in lifetime taxes. Their legacy is going up, whether that's to their kids or to the charity of their choice. They're able to give more. They have more net income. Their average tax rate goes down. And most importantly, they're saving over $500,000 in taxes just by doing this actual move. Now that you understand how people can literally waste years saving in the wrong type of account, costing themselves thousands of dollars in taxes down the road, and instead the better, more strategic approach that helps you save more in taxes in retirement, if you want help implementing your retirement savings plan and what you can do today, go ahead and click on the link in the description below, and we will send you a personalized Loom video that goes over your unique retirement situation. We'll red flag what we see that could be changed and improve upon, and we'll have a conversation about that. So again, click on the link in the description below, and we'll see you in the next one.